What do Instagram, Slack, and even Google Maps have in common? They all shipped trash features that no one wanted to begin with, and then they iterated. When you ask people what the most important coding concept to understand in 2025 is, you'll probably hear things such as data structures, algorithms, etc. Textbook answers. And now, while these are very important for you to understand coding, I would argue that in 2025 something else has become a lot more important, and that is imperfection. And what I mean by this is not stressing the perfection when you're launching. It's so easy to think, just one more feature, I just need this, if I have this, I just gotta put this inside of my software, then I can ship it. That is the most dangerous path you can take in software development and coding in 2025, because 2025 has become the year of rapid iteration and development. Now, there are a few reasons for why perfectionism fails. One of them is that you typically often don't know what the customer wants. And most of the time, the customer doesn't know either. You may think that, oh, I have this such a great idea. If I only were able to execute upon this idea and bring something to market, I would have a mainstream success and I would be a billionaire and people are gonna download this like crazy. Newsflash, you don't know what they want. I don't know what they want. They don't know what they want. And there's no way therefore for you to know exactly what someone else wants. Therefore, if you perfect on something and you are determined that this is exactly what you're gonna build and you spend all of your waking hours building this particular feature or piece of software, and then it turns out that no one's wanted this, you've wasted time, money, effort, and the opportunity cost of all of that time and effort spent is astronomical. You start waiting for the perfect spec, analysis paralysis sets in. You start thinking, oh, well, I need this, well, I need that. Maybe if we add this. But the world will move on in the meanwhile and you will get left behind. This is pretty much the reason why 80% of startups fail before the product market fit, just because they get stuck in this analysis paralysis, and the ones that survive are the ones that are able to launch something and then iterate upon it. One pretty funny example is Twitter. So Twitter was actually launched as an internal hackathon at a company called Odeo. So Odeo was the first, or one of the first really, podcasting platforms. In 2005, they released a product, or maybe it was earlier than 2005, but in 2005, they had a relatively slow growth product that was meant to launch podcasts on the internet. And guess what? In 2005, iTunes came along and they made that a simple feature. And all of a sudden, Odeo was obsolete as they had no other unique selling point compared to iTunes. So in an internal hackathon, Jack Dorsey, who you probably know as the founder of Twitter, actually created Twitter in a couple of days. And this was then greenlit by the current Odeo CEO, and they started developing this a little bit more. And then in 2007, at a festival called South by Southwest, which is a pretty famous tech and music type of festival, Twitter actually became the go-to place to arrange meetups, etc. And this wasn't anyone's intention. It was just a quick hackathon project that was meant to share quick updates with the rest of the company. And just a few years after that, it started developing into something that the whole world was using just to communicate their short thoughts. And the lesson here is that no matter how good of an idea that you think you have, the great and the fantastic idea may be the one that you haven't even discovered yet. And if you're closed-minded and if you are that perfectionist view on that this is exactly what we're going to build and this is how we're going to build it, if you're stuck in those ways, you're not going to be open-minded to these other potential projects that come along on the side that may end up being your main project. Now, therefore, I would argue that in 2025, the main and most important programming concept is to embrace the process. And what I mean by this is that you need to fall in love with the process of building stuff, not necessarily of a particular piece of software, but the process of building software. Say you have a fantastic idea that you think is going to be a mainstream hit. Sure, you end up falling for the idea, you love that idea, you could be right, but you could also very likely be wrong. And if you're wrong in this case, you will spend months, years, a lot of money developing this particular product, when in fact other projects could have walked by on the side looking at you saying, hey, come work on us, but you were so locked in on the particular idea that you're working on that you didn't pay any attention to them. So therefore, to avoid this, you need to iterate. And you need to iterate on everything. And when I say this, what I mean is that you need to take an idea that you have, you need to start developing that idea, and as soon as something else comes up that could be relevant, you bring that idea in and you work on that. And as soon as something changes in the marketplace or in your product, you take that and you iterate on that as well. And if you're able to do that continuously enough, you are bound to stumble upon some level of success with one of your products. Iteration is not merely a buzzword these days, it's the engine that drives progress. Every single product that you know and that you love has been iterated on, and many of them were not even intended to be that particular product to begin with. And now, the reason why this has become more relevant in 2025 is that it's much easier, or a lot easier than ever at least, to build high quality products with little knowledge and with little effort. And yes, I will upset some people by talking about this again, but the era of vibe coding is officially here. We either embrace it or we get obsolete and get left behind. And I'm not saying that you maybe should vibe code an entire enterprise level piece of software, but this vibe coding and all these features that have come along with all of these lovables, with the cursor AIs and all of these other AI development tools have allowed us to iterate, discover and work on ideas in a much more efficient and quick manner than previously ever known. So therefore, if you are someone who wants to build software, I would say don't wait to hop on it. Start as soon as you can, iterate, learn and fail. Fail fast and fail forward, and don't be a perfectionist. It's always much better to release something that you can learn from than to wait for the perfect moment to release something, because guess what? That perfect moment to release something will never come. I have had a lot of these situations in my own life where the first project that I worked on, Wonder-SAAS, I spent so long building a pretty shitty app, but I wanted this feature and I wanted that feature. And I spent a year and a half developing this. I sunk probably $10,000 into acquiring stories, etc. for this particular app. And I haven't made a single buck from it. Okay, that's an exaggeration. I probably made $300-400, but you can see I'm pretty much in a net negative there. And what I mean here is that what I did wrong was that I got stuck on an idea. I thought this idea was revolutionary and I dropped this idea. And that idea turned out to be pretty bad because there are so many alternatives like audiobooks or Spotify for free or YouTube, for example. But also I spent so much time on particular features that I ignored making a good, decent experience overall. So you can actually go check out that app. It's on the App Store and the Play Store. It's called Wonder-SAAS. Check it out if you want to. It's a pretty horrible project, but it was a fun learning experience. But now, what I'm doing now in 2025, so it's May when I'm recording this video, and I have already released 11 apps in May, and they're making me a couple of thousands of dollars every month just from iteration. So I've iterated, I've built apps, I've stumbled upon a concept that worked. This concept that worked for me in this time was education. So I've built a bunch of education apps across various fields, iterated on them, made some updates, listened to testers, and haven't really stuck to the particular idea of it, but rather the idea of I want to make value for someone else, and then iterated on those particular apps and created something that is valuable. You need to embrace this iteration process, and you need to embrace the feedback that's going to come along with it. Both feedback from yourself when you're using your product, but also feedback from others. Feedback and data are what allows you to make user-informed decisions. Otherwise, you're just stumbling in the dark with your own best guess, which is never going to be as good as the collective idea of what a group really wants. Therefore, I'm going to leave it at that and say that the most important coding principle of 2025 is iteration and imperfectionism. Don't get snowed in on that you want something that's very particular, and also fail fast, fail forward, and iterate. And I don't just mean with your code, because building software these days is about knowing so much more than how to code. With the advent of these AI tools, pretty much anyone can build an MVP of any idea what they want. But I mean, iterate on UX, iterate on pricing, iterate on copy, and continuously try to improve how you're framing and how you're marketing your software in order to make it a success. I have some more thoughts, and I have some of these templates that I'm actually referring to in regards to these education apps. You can find them inside of my WAP community. It's completely free of charge to join. If you have any questions, you can also hit me down one-on-one down below, or join this WAP community. I answer all of the messages there. I'm gonna check out there. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. Let me know what you think. Do you disagree with me? Do you agree entirely? What are your experiences with iteration and with software in 2025, and how does that compare to what it used to be? Let me know. Thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.